A partial house for Pat Miletich. Well, once they get her going, we'll see if it makes a difference. Big John McCarthy back in to officiate this matchup. John Peretti, your quick thoughts before John gets us going.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to MMA Start to Finish. I'm Julian, and this is Matt.
Hello.
And you'll notice immediately we sound different again. Given the current state of the planet and its chaos, we can't really get together to record these. So we have figured out a mobile solution where we use Discord.
It sucks, but it's not all bad. It helps me with looking at my notes.
Silver linings.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about UFC 21, which took place in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We are no longer in Alabama for every single card. No offense, Alabama. It's just, gets a little old.
It took long enough.
And it is a historic night. Not so much for the fights, but holy shit, we have rounds and round scoring now.
3 judges will score a bout, but instead of one single length bout time, we have gone to rounds. In addition, we have looked at the criteria for scoring. We have gone from a one card and the judge going ahead and scoring a fight in its duration to now the rounds and a 10-point must system.
Yeah, we got the 5-minute rounds back for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time. And the one weird thing that they did that we don't do anymore is prelim fights are only 2 rounds, which would be kind of confusing because, how are you going to score that? There's going to be a lot more draws.
Yeah, I don't know how they really thought about that.
I wonder when they get rid of it, but I guess we'll find out.
And they also had discussion of 10-9 and 10-8 rounds.
Yeah, so with the rounds comes round scoring too. It's they're a combo package. It's kind of impossible to do one without the other.
I was just surprised that they made official scoring in that sense instead of just I think they did better this round.
Well, it comes from boxing. It's boxing scoring, which is why it's always been such a clusterfuck in judging in MMA because we're using a scoring system that was designed for a different sport where it's much easier to score things because you're only working with one vector. So they didn't so much make up their own scoring system as they were just they relented to just taking boxing scoring system.
I can see why they chose that because boxing is very ingrained
exactly
in certain areas, and that helps with their legitimacy.
That's totally what they're going for.
Has given up at this point.
What did you hurt? Kick or on the ground? On the ground?
Let's go to Bruce Buffer with our decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the first round, Marco Ruas's corner has thrown in the towel. For the winner, Maurice Smith!
As always, we're going to start off with the main event. We have 2 gentlemen nearly 40 years old. We love them both, but they are both dads. Maurice Smith and Marco Ruas. I was, not to jump too far ahead, but before the fight started, I was pretty excited.
I was hopeful for it because Marco Ruas has always been entertaining to watch, and Maurice Smith is always in the background as far as being in people's corners.
Yeah, he is a large alliance, no pun intended. And we hadn't seen Marco in a while. He was busy cornering and training Pedro and doing other things, and it was nice to see him back, but the fight, not awesome.
No.
Don't get me wrong, it wasn't the worst fight on the card, but other than the leg kicks to open it up and some leg lock exchange, it was kind of not that much going on, and then the finish kind of just came out of nowhere.
There's a lot of caution on the feet and a lot of kind of just staying in place on the ground. Maurice tried to get a headlock at one point, but just opted to shift the fight towards the center of the mat. But he didn't get anywhere with that before the round ended, first round.
So after the first round, Marco could not answer the call of duty because his knee was compromised from, I think it was from the leg lock exchange, but they seem to indicate that maybe he came into the fight with a pre-existing knee injury, so who knows how it really happened, but he couldn't keep going.
That's right. They were talking about how post-fight, Marco was saying that he had hurt his knee beforehand.
Yeah.
So that probably played a part in why his knee was no longer working. He was limping back to his corner.
Yeah. Yeah, it was we couldn't really see it going on because we weren't looking for it, but we rewatched the fight sometimes, and we rewatched this one, and you could see him limp back to the corner at the end of the round, which was the end of the fight. Wasn't looking good. And then his coach berated him like a jerk, telling him to like think of his family. It's like, cool dude, but my knee is paced now, so this isn't gonna work.
Like, had Marco gone out there and continued to fight, and like Maurice gets another leg lock and just destroys Marco's knee, he's out for like a year.
Yeah, say goodbye to your career and your ability to walk for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Good luck helping your family then.
Yeah. Live to fight another day and all that. So, right before this fight, we had commentary, interview, Ken Shamrock, like they love to do when they get the opportunity. And earlier in the night, which we'll get to as we go through things in reverse order here, they interviewed both Frank and Tito to announce a title fight. So they were asking Ken about that, and Ken had some choice words about Tito's t-shirt.
Tito's had to do what he had to do to get to where he's at, understandably, but there's some lines you just don't cross, and I had to draw that line and let him know which line he doesn't cross. I have respect for Tito as a fighter and as a person, but I think he went overboard when he pulled out that shirt.
That's right. He's still mad about the t-shirt thing.
It's hilarious, too, because if you listen to the interview, and I might include some clips of it, he goes out of his way to mention it's not the finger guns, it's not, he's in the WWF at that point. He gets, trying to build up a fight. But he specifically mentions the t-shirt is where he stepped out of line. And, I kind of get it.
What did the shirt say again?
I just fucked your ass?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty aggressive shirt.
I mean, there's another shirt tonight that's also pretty aggressive.
I suppose there is, and we'll get to that, but geez, dude. Way to start a lasting feud with your choice of attire. I
mean, with how good he is, I think he can sustain that feud.
Certainly adds an element to the upcoming title fight, but we'll get there. Oh, and one more note on t-shirts. The t-shirt Ken's wearing here, the Lion's Den shirt, is kind of awesome. So if anybody knows where we can get some bootlegs, or if Ken's selling official copies out of his garage, please leave a comment. We'd love to know.
I actually was on Ken's website. He does not sell that shirt, but he does sell other shirts.
Any Lion's Den shirts?
I think there was a Lion. No, they're all just Ken shirts.
It's unfortunate.
eBay's your best bet at this point.
With a referee stoppage at 2 minutes, 20 seconds of the second round, for the winner, and still UFC lightweight champion of the world, the Croatian sensation, Pat Miletich.
The co-main event of the evening was a lightweight championship defense by Pat Miletich as he set out to prove he was not just a boring dude who could give you a mean wedgie. Taking on Andre Pederneiras, who, if you'll allow me this brief moment to check Wikipedia, I know he's the coach of some pretty notable fighters right now. Yeah, notable members, Jose Aldo, Renan Barão, Junior Dos Santos, Pedro Rizzo. Yeah, he's worked with a lot of people as a coach, so we get to see him fight for a title himself in this, I don't want to call it slept on because the fight wasn't that interesting, but I did not know Andre Pederneiras fought for a title in the UFC.
It's always interesting to see where they go, or like what their history is in the past.
Yeah, it's always cool seeing fighters who I know way more as coaches, like Conan Silveira back when we watched UFC Japan, and he's like Amanda Nunes' coach now. It's cool to see.
So they couldn't immediately start this fight because someone left the gate open.
That's right. Didn't we hear Big John yell at him?
Yeah, I think it was one of the other refs left it open.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Might have a note about I have Troy close the gate in all caps marked down. Is that right?
Yeah.
I might open the show with that, actually.
Yeah. And you think they would have a habit of like knowing what the procedure is?
Yeah.
Get the fighters
You
in,
would.
announce the fighters, get everyone out, lock the gate.
Yeah, lock the door seems like fairly high up on the list of priorities. But
And I feel like even in this, and I feel like within this fight, we had someone that slam up against the gate or like right next to it.
it's like every fight, yeah. You can't leave
So-
the gate unsecure.
Imagine if they had just like closed it and not locked it. Someone's flying out of there.
I mean, we saw it happen in the olden days. I think there was one time when they slammed into the door and it just opened.
I think so, yeah.
If you can remember the card that happened on, comment below. So, the fight, while not terribly interesting, was still more interesting than Pat's last couple of fights. Especially in the beginning, he had some good knees he threw and was trying to, throw some leg kicks. But most of the first round was a feeling out process.
There wasn't a ton of action. At least both of the fighters are like similar weight height.
Yeah, we had some problems with size disparity this evening, so it was nice to have a fight where we had equally matched foes.
Yeah.
So the first round ended, and then in the second round, Pat hit Andre with a shot right on his brow line and busted him open.
Yeah, there was a lot of blood going down his face. It wasn't getting in his eyes though. It was going down like the side of his face.
Yeah, it didn't seem like the kind of cut that would have stopped the fight today, I'll be honest.
And
Unless we were in New York.
yeah,
Gotta
for
always
New
throw
York.
that in because fuck New York.
And it was like going down the side of his face and then like down the center of his chest. And at first, it just kind of looks like there's that line going down.
Yeah, it looked like a shadow if you didn't notice it.
But then when he gets hit, then it smears, and it's like, oh Jesus,
So
he's leaking.
that cut prompted them to stop the fight, basically. The doctor came in to look at the cut and was like, no. So that was it. Another anticlimactic end to a fight. The co-main event and main event tonight didn't necessarily deliver. I'll put it that way.
No.
It was kind of a resident sleeper card when it comes to the actual attraction fights.
And these fights are going pretty quick.
Yeah, they're flying by a lot of these to the point where we had a lot of interviews and a lot of hype up tonight.
Yeah. Because our main event, that was 1 round. This fight, barely 2 rounds. And
As we get into the other fights, you'll see they didn't exactly all go very long either.
yeah.
So Pat retains his UFC lightweight championship. They're well, I'll put it this way. They're happy because they're actually in Pat's home state. They're in Iowa. So that actually did add an element of atmosphere, and is something I wish the UFC would do more now. Have more title defenses in the champion state, because it adds a lot, even when the fight's not super interesting.
Yeah, it gets the crowd more hyped up. I think it boosts the entertainment value for the people watching at home.
I completely agree.
Even if the people watching at home would be watching this on a VHS too.
Speaking of getting the crowd riled up, after his title defense, we had Mikey Burnett go full pro wrestling style heel and just do I'll probably include a clip of it.
No. I'm the lightweight champion. He's got the belt. Everybody knows he's got the belt. I'm the lightweight and everybody knows I'm the best. Come get it.
Mikey, he would say it's been a while since you've been around. How's the hand? The hand okay?
The hand's damn fine, I'll say. And anybody who wants to come get some, get off the damn couch and come get it.
Mikey Burnett, thank you for being with us. Mikey Burnett has some words for our champion, Pat Miletich.
But that weird, like, pumping your arm thing instead of flipping you off to the crowd. And, as you can see, grabbing the mic from Mike. And just being generally kind of a shithead trying to get a title shot.
Yeah, and you're saying something along the lines of, like, this person didn't earn whatever title they had.
Yeah, it was Pat. He was saying Pat didn't earn that title. Meanwhile,
he beat him.
To be fair, he did beat him in the Great Wedgie War of 1998. So,
yeah, if you can't take the wedgie, then how are you going to take a hit?
It's a fair point. I don't know what he thinks is coming his way.
He's potentially a giant nerd who lost the wedgie.
So I have a theory about his behavior here. Now, he was certainly, like, gassing it up to, promote things. But also, based on his slurred speech, I'm going to imagine Mikey had a couple of beers by now. He didn't sound like a sober man.
What if he wanted to do this, but got nervous, and then just had to get some liquid confidence?
Until I hear otherwise from him, that is now my headcanon. So.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has stopped the fight. For the winner of this middleweight fight being Mr. Jeremy Horn. Let's have a hand for a very game opponent in Mr. Daiju Takase.
Up next, we had a middleweight bout between Jeremy Horn and Daiju Takase. Now, as you can see from the tail of the tape here, Daiju is not a middleweight. He's a lightweight. He's actually weighed in at the limit for lightweight, not middleweight. So he's much smaller than Jeremy, and it shows.
He's almost 30 pounds lighter.
And it's not like he's, like, tall or something, so he's at least, like, lanky. No, he's just, a much smaller man.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work out.
Yeah, so let's just get into it. Jeremy beat the brakes off of him. My first note is Jeremy is destroying him. He fucked him up with some knees and some ground and pound. It was scary. I was worried about him.
They started the fight with a lot of, like, standing kicks and keeping the distance, though. So it's not like it was right out the gate. He's destroyed.
No, it wasn't Dan Severn style. But after, like, a little feeling out process and some leg kicks, Jeremy was just all over him.
He got on top. There were knees and elbows to
his head,
his face, and his body. And to make matters worse, Daiju, as soon as he gets put on his back, his mouthpiece flies out.
Yes. Not only
all these hits that he's getting to his face, they're just full on. Nothing's padded.
Not only can he not get up, but he's also just, no shock absorption on the pain he's about to receive.
I can't think of a worse situation for him unless, like, he was even lighter.
Yeah, so we have a picture of it here. There was so many different things I could have used as a screenshot. Him getting elbowed, him getting kneed, the little clip where he accidentally hits him in the back of the head, asks the ref if that's okay, and then the ref's like, no, and then he proceeds to just elbow him in the back of the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should point out, if you can't tell from this picture, it is not Big John, the referee. The referee is Mario Yamasaki, who, if you're familiar with referees, not the greatest reputation on earth. Kind of just lets some stuff go.
I like to think that Mario just said, I want you to kill this man. Horn's like, you sure? Yeah. Then he moves to the elbows.
So eventually, mercifully, after just beating the brakes off of him from mount, Mario, he didn't even, like, jump in and push him off. He just kind of, like, walked over and waved. Like, all right, time to stop. No more murder.
To be fair, though, Daiju was bucking for quite a while. He's trying to get Horn off.
Yes, but the sound his head made when it got hit was very upsetting.
Yeah, at least he's trying still. It's not like he was pinned down and that's where he stayed.
I'll give you that he put in significant effort to escape mount, but never recovered half guard even.
His lower half was really trying.
It's almost like he weighs 30 pounds less than the dude on top of him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So as this fight ended, Daiju just stayed on the ground.
Yeah.
Defeated.
It was pretty rough.
He wasn't like out cold, but I think he understood how full he did.
I think he demonstrated that Mario should have gotten his ass in there a little sooner. I think that's what this demonstrates.
So to add insult to injury, one of Horn's cornermen had a shirt of Horn pissing on his defeated opponent.
Yeah.
On the ground.
To be fair, it wasn't like a unique image. It was that like one you always see as a bumper sticker on a car with like the cartoon dude peeing on like like a sports team logo.
Yeah.
But instead of a sports team logo, it just said like my unconscious opponent and had a body, which was fucked.
It wasn't Calvin though. It was distinctly Horn.
Was it?
It wasn't Calvin. Not from Calvin and Hobbes.
I thought it was Calvin, but
nah, it didn't look like Calvin. Calvin has hair.
You're right. Either way, very rude. Regardless of which fictional character was doing the urination.
You just call Horn a fictional character.
Okay, cartoon character, if you want to be pedantic.
Victors might be real, but you aren't.
So, if you want an idea of how this fight went, after the fight ended, when Horn went back to his corner, his coach said, that was a show there.
I mean, he put on a show.
It was just so dryly
entertaining to watch.
It was probably one of the more entertaining fights of the night.
Not for, I wouldn't say for like competition, but just for like, Jesus Christ, look at that man die.
Unfortunately, that is what made it interesting. It wasn't exactly a close fight. So at this point in the night is when we got our announcement that UFC 22 would be a title fight between Frank Shamrock and Tito Ortiz.
Talking about the Lions, Denny said, I'm going to send all the kiddies back to the litter box.
It's all in good fun. Everybody knows what I do. I break people, I break legs, I break spirits. That's my job. I'll show up, I'll do my job, and I'll take care of Tito, whatever.
Do you think if Tito wins this, then he has to fight Ken?
It's like what, like the next boss?
Yeah.
You have to fight his big brother now. I remember how this goes, and I remember Tito's situation with Ken, so I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I'll let you find out what happens.
Good. I get to react fresh. I would like to see Tito win, and like he puts on a shirt that says I fucked your ass again.
Just does it again, and Ken just in rage tears one of the walls off the cage and just jumps in there.
Yeah. And that's how we start that next fight you were just talking about.
Be the end of the UFC. It's a huge brawl.
Yeah. I did like one question they had for Tito when Mike Goldberg was saying, How do you think you're going to beat this undefeated man? And Tito looks down for a second, thinks, and then says, I don't know, beat him up.
Not the most articulate or charismatic interview from either of these dudes, if I'm going to be honest. That's why I don't have a ton to add. There was just this weird tension with Frank wearing like casual dad clothes and Tito looking like a surfer. It was just weird. Like the fight itself, that being announced is cool and interesting, but the actual like standoff was just like awkward.
I feel like they had They were panicking and they just had to fill up space.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they had to announce the fight and they had to promote the fight, and they were like, I guess we'll just put them in the cage and have them talk.
We'll just keep promoting it and promoting it.
They're not exactly rolling in cash at this point. They gotta make sure the cards they do have are viewed. And we didn't mention it earlier, but back in the day, we used to like to tell you guys what the the viewership was and the attendance for these things, but we have still yet to see the return of the buy rate and attendance for these cards. So we have no idea how well attended and viewed these fights have been for quite some time. Speaking of fights where we have weight disparities, Paul Jones, Flavio Mora, not 30 pounds, but still a 23-pound weight differential that you noticed immediately.
Yeah.
We have
For
a
our
winner
decision.
by submission at 4 minutes, 21 seconds of the first round for the winner, Paul Jones.
I don't know why I put 25-year difference. There's not 25 years difference between these two fighters.
No, he is not literally his dad, but he is like a teenage child older than him, which is still like a pretty big difference. This is a new man, relatively new man versus a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
But no, he's not 25 years older.
So this is one of the more active fights, at least.
It's hard to like pick a favorite fight because they were all so strange tonight, but I definitely enjoyed this one.
It had a similar flavor to the Daiju Jeremy Horn fight.
Yeah, and we are covering these in reverse chronological order, so we saw this fight first, and then once we saw that Daiju and Jeremy fight, it was like this on steroids.
Yeah.
So despite the size differential, didn't Flavio actually drop him when the fight started briefly?
Yeah. He rocked him real quick, but as soon as Flavio tries to get on top Paul, he gets flipped around in this scramble, and Paul gets in his guard.
Yeah, it was both these fights, this one and the last one. As soon as it went to the ground, it was just donezo because of the size differential. Like, on the feet, they could relatively keep it competitive, but once they got to the ground, that was pretty much it.
Good golly, Paul pounded Flavio.
You just did that thing where they pin you into the corner of the cage and just beat the brakes off of you. Nothing, like, landed so harshly that you thought dude was going to get KO'd, but it was just consistent. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. It was a consistent beating. Nothing horrible.
He did put up a much better defense than Daiju, though, because he at least was able to, like, try and throw up some submissions with his legs. He wasn't able to catch anything, but he was at least trying to go for some kind of armbar, make the best of the situation.
And somehow Flavio managed to, like, stand up, but Paul brought him up at the same time, and then got this choke behind his back, and just like fell back down, bringing Flavio with him. Yeah.
Yeah, he got the standing rear naked choke. He didn't even have the legs involved at all, but he didn't really need to. You can see it's the end of the round too, so Flavio's worn the fuck out.
I think it was in deep enough that Flavio knew.
Yeah, you could see for yourself. He's pretty well under the chin there. He's not going anywhere.
And then he falls back, and as soon as they're on the ground, Flavio taps. He doesn't wait to put the lights out.
Yeah, no need to be unconscious.
I was going to say he can do that later in the hotel room, but what they're getting paid, it's probably in the hotel room. Yeah,
I don't even know if, like, he doesn't just get on the plane and go back home afterward. It's just, like, sad. Is it safe to fly after you've been choked out? I don't know.
I don't think a doctor would recommend it. I feel like the last thing I would want to do after getting in a big fight is go on a plane.
Yeah. I wonder how many days on average, like, nowadays, fighters chill in the town they fought in if they sustained, like, hospitalization level injuries. Like after, not to get too contemporary, but after Joanna had her head swell up like an invader alien, I wonder how long she was in the hospital before she went home.
Well, it is something I just thought about. Like, if you're at the gym and you haven't been at the gym for a while and you do squats, you're going to feel those squats for the next few days. But, like, how long do you stay off of those legs, you know?
So are you basically, like, you're saying, I wonder how long they take before they start training again after they've gotten the shit kicked out of them?
Not even that, but, like, if it's a bad loss, not even a bad loss, but, like, if you are seriously damaged,
Yes.
then, like, you're going to feel that even more the next day.
Oh, that's like all these fights. Anytime you see a dude have like serious swelling on his face or like deep bruising from leg kicks and he seems like he's fine, you should see the dude tomorrow because odds are he's not going to be able to walk if he has like, leg kick bruises or something.
So that's what I'm thinking. Like, if Flavio does get on a plane today, he can have that experience at least at home.
Okay, now I understand. It's coming full circle. He's trying to get ahead of the pain, at least in the comfort of his own bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas if he stays here, he might have to stay in that motel room if he can afford it.
Let's be real. It's a motel. They're in Iowa.
All right.
It's probably a motel. No offense.
The bed and breakfast.
Yeah. What are those called? The like chain motels that have like this like the same name, like except slightly different. Like the Holiday Inn.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or like Motel 6 or something.
I was going for a little nicer than that, but I could have said a Red Roof Inn, but I don't want to give Flavio bed bugs.
Yeah. So, do you stay at the motel for several days, or do you tough through on the plane?
They just threw in the towel. Eugene Jackson's corner just threw in the towel. Tim Lasik, for some reason, unable to continue.
Yep, it is over. Tsuyoshi Kosaka reigns victorious.
Up next, we got Tim Lasik and Tsuyoshi Kosaka in one of the two heavyweight fights we had tonight. Always nice to see TK back. He's been around for a while. Hasn't done super hot lately, but, familiar face. This fight was competitive, and they were pretty well matched, especially because they're both pretty well-rounded. TK has that submission style, but has, mixed in striking from Maurice Smith, and they said Tim was a guy who had experience in wrestling and boxing, so that's, a nice blend there for the sport. So it was competitive. What was interesting was that it was TK's own takedown attempt that actually got him to the ground and sort of led to a lot of his demise in the first round. So the second round was basically more of the same, just Tim in mount doing mean things. I was actually surprised that he lost that dominant position as easily as he did.
What I remember is TK goes for that takedown real early, and he goes way too low, around to his ankles, and Tim just kind of ends up on TK's back and spins around.
Yeah, that's that wrestling skill coming into play.
Yeah.
Tim looked a lot better than him, and eventually in the second round they had these dueling leg lock exchange.
Yeah, that was weird. It was weird, but interesting to watch.
And they kind of just went back and forth on the ground like that, moving positions and getting a few strikes in here and there until the end of the round. And then Tim's corner threw in the towel because he was kind of wobbly from what I understood, which was weird because I felt like he was winning.
He was doing marginally better than Tsuyoshi. So, do you think he was gassed, or do you think his corner just thought we're not going to make it this next round. Let's just end it here.
It seemed like a cardio issue. It didn't seem like he'd like taken that much damage. But even if it's a cardio issue and you like, I don't know, I guess this is literally the first card with this kind of rounds and scoring system. But you know, a contemporary view on that would be, even if you're completely gassed, as long as you don't get dominated this round, you've probably won the first 2 rounds. So just like coast. But I don't know if they were thinking like that back then. Or maybe his situation was more serious than we realized and he was like, you know, dizzy. But he looked disappointed when they were like making him quit. So I don't know.
Yeah, he was like shaking his head.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see here, he's kind of dejected off on the side there. TK doesn't look super thrilled about the W after. It seems like he was losing the fight. But, you know, I'm sure he'll take it. He's not going to give it back.
Yeah. He's just not there's not much pride in it.
Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah.
The official decision from Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner by knockout at 1 minute, 19 seconds of the second round. For the winner, Eugene Jackson.
So the first fight that we saw tonight was Royce Alger and Eugene Jackson. That's what opened up the show. Two, you know, they're about the same weight, but 2 distinct body types, Farmer Strong and Jim Strong.
I have a feeling that Farmhand Strong is a little more sustainable than Jim Strong.
Depends which gummies you take.
It's true. Those gummies will get you.
So the fight opened up with Royce using his striking in order to get a takedown, and then spent most of the first round just kind of ground and pounding Eugene. The second round rolled around and it was basically exactly the same. He got in a mount and kind of just pounded him for like 40% of the round. So it was kind of surprising, at least to me, to see Eugene eventually get out of that mount without doing anything super spectacular.
I like how Mike Goldberg announced Eugene Jackson when he was walking in as Eugene, who fought in Brazil where nobody liked him.
He did say that, yes, which is quite the way to introduce someone. Not to mention as an aside during the fight, but for that to be front and foremost on your mind.
What he walks out.
So despite being mounted and pounded for most of the fight, Eugene was actually able to get out of mount, like I mentioned, and by then, Royce was gassed and got knocked out shortly thereafter. I think the only standing KO we had on the main card.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got to see a finish, even if it was a little early. I feel like too many of these ended without anything real decisive.
A lot of anticlimactic finishes.
Yeah.
It was nice to get one dopamine hit tonight.
Yeah.
So after Marco and Maurice's fight ended pretty quickly, and with all the fights ending pretty quickly tonight, they actually elected to show us one of the prelim fights to close the card, and boy am I glad they did.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a knockout at 3 minutes, 1 second for the winner, Andre Roberts!
Do you guys remember Ron Waterman and Andre Roberts? I'll introduce Andre. He's the dude who said, having a game plan is dumb, and then proceeded to get smashed. Who's Ron, Matt?
Ron is the sculpted art teacher.
Who is 264 pounds, potentially of south of the border supplements.
Yeah.
I don't have insider information here, but anytime you look like that and the year is prior to 2000, I'm a little sus.
Mm.
Honestly, prior to like 2015, but that's another story.
And if you hadn't noticed yet, there is an 85-pound difference between these two.
Back in the day when there was no cap on heavyweight.
Yeah, where Andre Roberts is almost 350 pounds. And he claims that he has more stamina now.
since his last time. And honestly, based on how it went, it's kind of hard for me to tell him he's wrong, considering, well, I guess we'll jump into it, the beating he took in the first, 60 seconds?
I mean, I don't even know if that really has anything to do with stamina rather than just endurance.
Well, you're gonna. I suppose they're kind of part and parcel, at least in my view. Like, you have to be able to come back after getting the shit kicked out of you. You have to be durable, and you also have to, like, still have the wind. You know what I mean?
Are you really exerting that much energy just getting beat up?
I don't know, honestly. I legit. If anyone here has ever had the shit kicked out of him, tell me, does it make you tired? So yeah, he had the shit kicked out of him for like a full minute and a half. He got kneed from the clinch until it busted him open almost immediately, and then ate a bunch of uppercuts.
And then we were afraid that we were gonna have a doctor stoppage
again.
When Big John asked for the doctor to come in and check out Andre's destroyed nose.
Mm-hmm.
But the doctor just wiped it off and said, "Go back."
And then he proceeded to get the shit kicked out of him again.
A little bit.
And then out of nowhere, shit changed.
Yeah, Andre just rocks Ron, and he starts seeing some stars, falls back a little bit, and Andre hops on top.
Like, pins him down for a little bit, gets like a shot in from, like, control on the ground, and then eventually lets, I think you were saying he realized he had a better chance standing up, so he let Ron stand back up.
Yeah. And then he just bops him again.
Boop. Little arm punch. Had like no weight behind it at all. We were at a weird camera angle when it happened, so I couldn't see it that well. And after just getting pounded into sand for most of the fight, Andre would actually win.
With basically just 2 punches.
Yeah. So anything is possible.
These are crazy large people.
This makes me wish we were in a world where the UFC did not put a cap on heavyweight, especially because there is no super heavyweight division, or at least I don't know of an organization that has a super heavyweight division. So just let them all in, man. Just let them all in and create a cruiserweight. Create a
cruiserweight
230. That's what, like, in boxing, it's like between, like, light heavyweight and heavyweight. It's like around 225, 230. Make that a weight class. And then above 230 or whatever you want to have it be, have that be as big as you want. Let the sumos back in.
What is the heavyweight class cap?
265. It's anything between 206, so above light heavyweight, and 265. So
I think I remember reading that they do have a super heavyweight, but that there's just no one in there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, the division might technically exist as a division, but there is not an organization, definitely not the UFC, but I can't think of any organization that actually maintains a super heavyweight roster.
I think they're afraid that they're going to have a situation where there's like a sumo wrestler and they're going to get their teeth kicked out again.
I just don't think there's enough people that big fighting. Like, they don't have, like, the supply is not there, whether or not the demand is from fans. So, like, that's why I'm saying just integrate them into heavyweight and, like, create another weight class underneath heavyweight. But I'm now rambling about completely unrelated shit, and we should probably close the show. Yeah, that's going to do it for us for UFC 21. Up next, it's not quite time for us to go and watch UFC 22. We're going back to Japan for Pride 7. So be sure to watch Pride 7 and then come back here and watch our coverage of it. Until then, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, leave a comment, hit the like button, all those obligatory YouTube things. And we will see you guys later.
Bye. We love you.